welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. Today we come as a part 3 of our series on Fali Nariman. As we said, we are celebrating his life. It's not a time of mourning, 95 years well lived. And so much to say that 3 weeks ago, we were standing at IIC for 1 hour behind the mic and giving a lecture on constitutional law. That was the commitment to work of that gentleman, and also the fitness which he had. That at the age of 95, you could stand behind a mic, not sit, but stand. Pertinent to mention for somebody who's 95. And who better to speak on Fali Nariman than a man who is himself a professed workaholic, who anytime you call him or see him is working, dealing on calls with multiple clients, or talking to senior counsels in Supreme Court. I would like to welcome Mr. Mahesh Agarwal. He is managing partner of Agarwal Law Associates, one of India's leading litigation law firms at the Supreme Court of India. Good to see Mr. Agarwal. And at the outset, your comments.
I've had the fortune of working with Mr. Nariman very closely for last over 30 years. In 93, I became a lawyer. I think my first few matters, I was at his office. And it was such an enriching, amazing experience with him that is unparalleled. I have not seen anybody else working with the kind of focus and the zeal to win as he was. 8 a.m. in the morning, every day, Monday to Friday, we used to be in his office. And the kind of insight on his face, you could see that clever look that I have to find a solution and win the case. It's hard to find. One important thing he always told us was that if you have lost in 3 courts below, no point repeating the same old story, same old argument. Use your mind, use your brain, close your eyes, close the file, think of the case, find an answer, find an argument, and you will get it. And you will not believe that so many times when we follow that practice now, that we think about the matter with closed eyes, you do find a solution. So he was a person from day one who used to think out of the box, out of the file. Tell him what the problem is, he will think about it and give a solution. So his hardcore was hard work and a solution finder. In the court, he had a 360-degree view. A master strategist and master courtcraft. So he was at the same time listening what the judge is saying, seeing what they're discussing, seeing what the other side lawyer is doing, seeing his briefing lawyer, the client. He had a 360-degree view of the matter to use the key words which would win the case.
Very interesting.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Very well put. I want to know something from you. You, as I said in your introduction, you are a professed workaholic. You work all the time. Sundays, there is no Saturday. You don't take leaves. You're known to work
people like Nariman.
So that's why I want to know, when you look at a gentleman like Mr. Fali Nariman, who worked right up to the time he lived. In fact, we were told that 2 days before he passed away, he was being briefed by a team of 3 lawyers to appear in the Supreme Court of India. What inspiration do you get from people like him?
He loved law. That was his life. He just loved it. And the nuances of problems, nuances of sections, it was like a song going through his mind. Every case was like a song where he used to kind of enjoy it and celebrate the case. So if you give him a problem, you have lost in court, 3 courts, and something has to be found, his mind will work like electric speed. And across books, across sections, across acts, and find a solution for you. So the idea was that if he gets a case, he was very selective. I mean, he used to take, if you give him 10 cases, he'll take 3. But not that he will take only winning cases. He will take the challenging cases, which are difficult to win, which require hard work and require labor. So
one thing I
to work.
I see now you are a well-known commercial lawyer. You yourself are present in court for some of the top commercial disputes in the country. So you watch commercial lawyers arguing in court very closely on a day-to-day basis. Mr. Fali Nariman was known as a top commercial lawyer. What do you see in him which made him stand out And when you compare him with the counsels of his era, which I think most of them have left the world now, but what qualities do you think he had as a commercial mind, as a commercial lawyer?
See, he had a very commercial mind. He could look for a commercial solution. And end of the conference, what he used to do was, okay, let's see if I am a judge, what would a judge do? And draft an order. 9 on 10 cases, he used to go to the court with a proposed order in the sense that he had an aim that I'm going to get this or I'm going to try for this. And after kind of facilitating in his mind, ki, how is it possible? So he would look at the problem, think like a judge, think of a solution, look to a proposed order, not that it's a complete what the client wants, but something which is possible and work towards it. So many times I've seen that he used to actually hand over the proposed order to the court, and the court would find or the judges would find it acceptable. Yeah, Mr. Nariman, that's possible. Why not? Let's do that. So that kind of a quality of working on a draft, which he wants to achieve, was simply amazing.
Mr. Agarwal, you work with some of the top counsels of India every day. So you know arguing styles of most of them. Some people are persuasive, some people are loud in the court, some people put their points very subtly, some people hover around the argument for the judge to arrive at that point. They will try to into. What was Mr. Fali Nariman's arguing style in your view?
Quite different from everybody else. Quite different. He basically thought of the judge's mind and prepared a sentence or an argument which the judge would get interested in. Not just what the client is saying or what we are saying. He will get into the judge's mind and plan an argument or plan a sequence of things which the judge would find interesting. Now this 136, which is the SLP before the Supreme Court, now nobody bothers about what is the question of law, how you prepare grounds, nobody bothers. When he used to settle an SLP, he used to start with an interesting question of law, which is not decided, present it to the court, which the judge would like to decide. So he knew how to interest the judge. Out of 50 matters that the judge is doing, he was able to get the judge's mind and interest into the case.
One thing that I would like to know from you, to be relevant in the Supreme Court, right up to 95, for an arguing counsel, I mean, you're not a law firm, you have to go to court, you have to argue matters. What does a lawyer need, and what he had in him, not in the 60s, 80s, late 70s, say after 75 to 95, a period of full 20 years, 2 decades is a really long time. So active from 75 to 95, what did he have and what do counsels need to last? Because I remember Ram Jethmalani, and now in living examples, K.K. Venugopal, he goes to court, argues big cases. What did these people have? What did Mr. Fali Nariman have that allowed him to argue? What quality did he have?
So the quality is to be relevant in the court at this age. So how do you get relevant? Is the integrity, the stature, the admiration and the respect which they have earned over the years keeps them going. It's not easy for a client to be convinced to brief a 95-year-old lawyer who will not be able to spend time, who will not be able to study, may not be able to stand in court for 5 hours. Still they will. Reason is this, that the kind of respect, if Mr. Nariman or Mr. Jethmalani as he then was, or Mr. Venugopal today enter the court, there is an aura of respect. The judge would like to hear them. So what they want is this admiration from the court.
Okay. One final comment before your last question for the day from my side would be, any personal feelings of what the bar has lost in Mr. Fali Nariman?
See, we have lost a great soul and a person with the highest integrity which we had ever in the court. A person who was so highly respected and followed. And the law which the Supreme Court has now laid down, there is a huge contribution by him in the labor which he put in, the legal points which he developed, and which you find now in the judgments. So his legacy is there to continue.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your joining us and speaking so frankly, forthrightly, and what you felt from the heart about the giant of law that was Fali Nariman. Thank you so very much. Appreciate your joining us. So now we are joined by Mr. Mohit Saraf, Managing Partner of Saraf and Partners, one of India's leading law firms. He will speak about the life and times of Fali Nariman. For your introductory comment, over to you, Mr. Saraf.
Thank you, Tarun, for inviting me. Really, if you look at Fali Nariman's 60 years of practice, I think what key themes which come out and which you can see that it was very dear to him. One was his aspect of fundamental rights, civil liberties. I think his contribution in the two landmark case, the Minerva Mill case and the Keshav Nandan Bharati case, was absolutely astonishing. And it was a very different era when those judgments were written. And his contribution was quite significant. And because, lawyers really, virtually, they write the judgment, they argue the point, and then judges capture the right things and they put it the judgment. So therefore, a lot of credit has to be given to lawyers as well. So that's number one part of it. The other is that he was very clear that there are independent. The Constitution of India provides for certain objectives about educational institutions, and they need to have independence. And he left a lot of mark on multiple cases, and that the Pi Foundation case was quite significant in that order. Even today, I would say India is probably the only country where judges appoint judges. And that's again an important thing where Fali left a huge mark on that. And today we have been able to preserve Constitution, we have been able to preserve basic structure of India, largely because judges appoint judges, not executive. They are consulted, but they don't have a final say. And the last part of a lawyer, I would say, is that he was one lawyer who was delight when we briefed him on commercial matters, because he would understand commercial issues very quickly. He may not agree with you, but he'll understand the issue. And I think one thing which always stand out from him is that he would not argue unless he agrees with you. So if he doesn't agree with you, however great your reasoning is, if he did not feel for the cause, he would not argue. But therefore, I think even on the arbitration circle, he was very, very active. And on number of large arbitration matters, I think he left a significant say. And today also, I would say community around the globe, particularly in London and Singapore, on the arbitration community, Fali is very well respected. So I would say these are few things which are very, very important. And I think it probably will be proper to call him a Bhisham Pitama of Indian jurisprudence, particularly what has come out in last 60 years.
Thank you. I also want to ask you two things. He worked till his last breath effectively. 6 weeks ago, he was giving a lecture, standing behind a mic for 1 full hour. 2 days before he passed away, lawyers were briefing him for an appearance before the Supreme Court. As far as we know, you also are a workaholic. You work all the time. What do you think is inspirational about Fali Nariman in his work ethic?
A lot of us in this busy world, when you get briefed on matters much more than what you can handle. Lot of lawyers in India, they end up taking matters, but they're not able to do justice. Sometimes they don't have time for detailing. Fali, on the other hand, always believed in detailing. I would say, I remember my partners used to be scared going to Nariman for his briefing. Because if you're not prepared well, he doesn't care you are a partner or you're an associate. If you are well prepared, if you can answer questions, you know things well, you've thought through, I think he'll love you, he'll respect you. But if you are not, he'll throw the file at you. And imagine a file get thrown at a lawyer in front of the client, what worse can it happen? So really, it was a very important thing, because for him, he didn't care who you were. You've come to brief. If you are a youngster, but you're well prepared, he'll respect you. If you are a senior, but poorly prepared, he have no sympathy. I think I always felt that he had no he could not tolerate fools. But he can tolerate people who are working very hard but still not there, and he will mentor them, he'll guide them, but he would not typically allow you to waste his time. And time was always very, very important for him. And again, he was a person who was a perfectionist, whatever he did, because he always pushed the envelope. He always wanted to bring one more aspect of it. It was for him. And people, like you said, that he used to work till he worked almost till his end, because people like him, they when people say work life balance, they don't understand. For people like Fali, work is life, and therefore there can be no balance except working. And he enjoyed what he did. He was passionate about what he did, and he loved. He didn't do for money or anything else. He just did it because that's what his passion was. That was his calling, and that's the reason. Till the last day, I would say, if I get a chance to go and hear his speech, I would go, because there's so much to learn. And that was he. So whenever he wanted to speak at a place, like you said, he stood for an hour speaking. He wanted to make sure that he has the right connect, because he was just not doing a duty of giving a speech. He was wanting to make sure that everybody in the room goes back thinking what he's learned from him. And therefore, he wanted that connect. So that's the reason he was a very, very passionate, very moody, very detailed oriented, but absolutely modest, lovable, adorable person who was just, we had so much to learn from him. And I would say today also, I think there's a vacuum which has been created after his demise.
I know you mentor a lot of young talent, and you have groomed a lot of young lawyers who have gone on to become partners in law firms. Some have gone on to become general counsels. So you, in your own way, you have contributed to the growth of the profession. Fali Nariman was a doyen of the bar. He was well respected. What do you think that he leaves for the youngsters, lawyers, young lawyers, students, and your two bits on that?
I would say clearly, what his clear message was, that law is a serious profession, and do your job very well. There's no chance of an error. Lawyers and doctors cannot go wrong. They cannot come half prepared. They need to be 100% prepared, and always think beyond the box. Think outside the box, and think about a creative way of reading it. Think about creative way of interpreting law. Like he would read everything multiple times. So that's really what it is. And imagine, because remember, he was a person, for him, law was his calling. He loved being a lawyer, but he had a very strong knack for justice. That's a very important part. Very few lawyers think about justice. Remember when there was the imposition of emergency, he was the additional Solicitor General. He was supposed to show up in the court and defend the government, but he refused to defend the government on imposition of emergency, on curtailment of basic fundamental right, and resigned. Same thing happened in Gujarat also, when there was some sort of atrocity against a certain community. He resigned there, and he refused to take the brief. He returned the brief. So that for him, there was a very strong sense of justice. Whatever he did, he meant it. He did not do it just for the heck, because lawyers typically are obligated to defend their clients, and they do not have public duty, unlike accountants or auditors. So therefore, there is a lot of things, but he always argued those points which he believed. Same, I think one interesting part was in his life was the Union Carbide case, where he actually defended Union Carbide in the Bhopal gas tragedy. And again, I think he was committed to that because firstly, he was a commercial-minded person, and secondly, he felt that everybody has a right to be defended. Though that does come out as some sort of different aspect of his personality because so many people died. But again, it's a very, very interesting. And I think what is more important is that respect the work, make sure you do 100% justice, get very well prepared. And I would say, really, for all of us, I think, be proud being a lawyer. I think that's what is important is, and I think people like him are now getting extinguished. I think probably Mr. K.K. Venugopal and Pranasaran are the only two people of that vintage left. But I think the contribution he made to the Indian legal system is enormous. And I think the key thing for new young people is to imbibe what he taught, how he practiced law, and his commitment to work. And I think I'm very, very, I hope that there's so many obituaries and so many people have written about him. A lot of youngsters will read and try to imbibe his ethos.
Thank you, Mr. Saraf. Thank you that you could make time and join on such an important
topic. And also, I think as I was speaking to you, Tarun, I've been thinking about it last few days that we as a firm, Saraf and Partners, we want to institute a scholarship in the name of Fali Nariman. We are working towards that on constitutional excellence in constitutional law in India. And we'll probably organize an annual debate or a speech followed by a scholarship. So we are working on that, and I hope the next generation lawyers who often are too much in hurry, they learn a lot from Mr. Nariman and understand his commitment that even at 95 he would stand for 1 hour to give a speech.
I must say that you made an announcement of the year on Legally Speaking. Talking of instituting a scholarship is a very big thing, and I think it's a very noble cause. We'll follow up with you on that because you indeed made a big announcement, and I think this is one of the best tributes that Mr. Fali Nariman could have got, that someone actually spoke about instituting a scholarship. Really pleased to hear it, and so thankful that you could join today. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.